so good that I thought yesterday afternoon. Doing math in my own mind. Think about this. It's always good.
Oh, right.
25 bags of mulch and mulch. Plants, so much I've done in 5 years. Basketball players, exactly.
Welcome to the May 22nd meeting of the Westminster City Council. My name is Alberto Garcia. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Atchison is out of the state representing Westminster at a conference this week, so I'll be taking his place today. If we could start by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. There are flags located in the back and the front. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Atchison, Baker.
Here.
Byrd.
Here.
DeCambra.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Pinter.
Here.
Seitz.
Here.
We'll now move on to a consideration of the minutes from the previous meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Councilor Seitz.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to accept the minutes of both the May 8th, 2017 City Council meeting and the special City Council meeting of May 15th, 2017 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented in the agenda packet, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll now move on to the presentations, and the first presentation is mine. We're going to have Maddie Schmidt come and join us up front. You know, I get to serve as a council liaison to the Westminster Youth Advisory Panel, which has been an incredible, incredible honor for the past 3.5 years. You have students who either attend Westminster high schools or they live in Westminster and attend high schools out of the city. They come together once a month for a meeting that do an incredible, incredible amount of community service and volunteer work in our community. These are kids who I'm sure would rather be doing other fun social things, but they've decided, you know what, I want to make a difference in our community, and I want to be a part of the town where I grow up. They also provide an incredible amount of input, and they bring a unique perspective. I know a number of our youth advisory panel members have participated in the community summits that we have, and it's just an entirely new perspective about things that we wouldn't even think about. We wouldn't even think about these issues, but they really bring a lot of perspective to it, and it's an incredibly helpful amount of input that they give to this council. And this is the future of Westminster. The future is in very, very good hands. And nowhere is that exemplified more than with Maddie, who has been on the Youth Advisory Panel since 8th grade, correct? Let me read you a little bit about her. She began on the panel when she was in 8th grade, and during her tenure, she's held the offices of secretary, vice chair, and is currently the chairperson. She is this year's only graduating senior in her 4.5 years of service to the group, and I speak for all of council when I say this. It is very, very much appreciated. In the fall, she will attend Northern Arizona University, where she will be a future twirler. And if you have seen her, she has performed at some of our events, including Westy Fest, and it is quite incredible. And when she lights the twirler, when she lights it on fire, it's actually a little bit scary. She will pursue a dual degree in special education and elementary education. She said of her experience on the panel, "My favorite event we ever did was a community summit because we got to learn so much about our city and our voices were heard that day as well." I'm going to read a proclamation and then prepare yourself because you're going to have to say a few words. Whereas the City Council of the City of Westminster believes that our youth should share with their community leaders their responsibility in addressing their needs, desires, challenges, and issues in molding their own futures. And whereas the city values its youth and desires to advance and promote their special needs and interests, and therefore created the Westminster Youth Advisory Panel on September 13th, 1999. And whereas currently the panel has 16 members appointed for the 2016-2017 school year. And whereas these Westminster Youth Advisory Panel members will be graduating from high school and departing from the 2016-2017 Youth Advisory Panel. And whereas it is important to acknowledge the contributions made by the existing panel members, now therefore I, Herb Atchison, the Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby recognize and extend appreciation to the following graduating senior who has served on the Youth Advisory Panel representing her school and Westminster youth. Madeline Schmidt, Pomona High School, chairperson, 4.5 years of service.
Well, thank you guys. I didn't prepare anything, but I mean, it's been such an honor serving on this panel. These individuals here, they're just amazing, and it's been so great to, spend the last 4.5 years with them and other members who have come and gone. And so I really appreciate, all that you guys have done for me, and I appreciate all you guys so much. So thanks for being a part of my life, and thanks for being a part of Westminster.
We're going to do two things. This is going to be a logistical nightmare. Your dance instructor for the City of Westminster as well? So just contributions, no bounds. We're going to take an individual picture, and then maybe we could have the whole panel come up, because it is the last, we are, as this group is constituted, come up, and we'll try to do it that way. If the whole panel could come up, and while they're coming up, let me also take this opportunity to thank our staff liaisons, which are Cindy and Joe, who both spend the time overseeing this group, spend the time preparing the agendas, corralling people, making sure people get there on places on time. And I know this whole panel and City Council definitely wants to say a very sincere thank you very much for what you do overseeing this group of our Youth Advisory Panel. Woo! Cindy and Joe, why don't you all come up? Come on, Cindy. Yes, come on. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Step up. Okay.
Thank you again very much for your service. And we look forward to seeing all of you that are not Mandy back here next year. Councilman Camber has our next presentation.
Thank you.
So I want to invite Hans and Rod to come to the front. Good. So I have the honor of doing the National Trails Day proclamation. National Trails Day began in June of 1993 with the American Hiking Society, and the event celebrates trails in all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. Westminster has over 150 of multi-surface trails within its boundaries. These trails provide users with commuting, training, beautiful scenic views, and a multitude of other recreational opportunities. National Trails Day is for celebrating not only the trails, but to activate the use of them through any muscle-powered activity. Do you want to say anything? Hans, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I will keep it short. A little under the weather today, but yeah, if you guys come out and join us on June 3rd, is it working? I can't even hear.
Yeah.
On June 3rd, we'll be at Stanley Lake Regional Park having a free cookout, having scavenger hunt. There's a few other classes going on as well. Should be a good time, but, however you celebrate it, with or without us, get out there and enjoy it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas citizens of Westminster, Colorado recognize the vital role that swimming and aquatic-related activities relate to good physical and mental health and enhance the quality of life for all people. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
There's no swimming in Stanley Lake. No swimming in Stanley Lake.
Let me do. I was like, okay. Well, let's do this now, the right one. So, whereas the first Saturday in June has been designated National Trails Day by the American Hiking Association, and whereas Westminster is home to over 150 miles of trails, including Big Dry Creek Trail, National Recreation Trail, and other important trail systems, and whereas Westminster supports the utilization of trails for multimodal transportation for commuting, recreation, and wellness activities. And whereas the residents of Westminster have shown their appreciation of Westminster's trail system by their high usage. And now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim June 3rd, 2017, Westminster Trails Day in the City of Westminster, and call upon all citizens to get outdoors and enjoy the beauty of Westminster's trails. So here, let's do a little picture.
So I actually get to be the one to make the proclamation about National Water Safety Month. So in so doing, can I invite Joe LeDuc and Justin Cutler to come up to the front with me, please? Oh, yay, there's more. Yes, everyone, please come up. Yes, this is great. Thank you for coming up. I'll get with it. All right. So before I read the proclamation, I'll just give you a bit of background on National Water Safety Month. National Water Safety Month is an annual awareness campaign coordinated by the Association of Pool and Spa Professionals with support from the National Recreation and Parks Association, the American Red Cross, and the World Water Park Association. These organizations represent businesses and other individuals and agencies involved in bringing safe, enjoyable aquatic activities to the American public, from home pools and spas to water parks and resorts to public swimming and water recreation facilities. The Starfish Aquatics Institute mission is to reduce drowning and save lives by providing reputable and responsive aquatic safety training programs and services delivered to the public through a network of friendly, knowledgeable aquatic professionals who serve as independent training providers. The nation's top water safety and training organizations are joining forces to present the world's largest swimming lesson. Thursday, June 22nd, 2017, so mark your calendars, to build awareness about the vital importance of teaching children to swim to help prevent drowning. On June 22nd, water parks, pools, and other aquatic facilities around the globe will host this event and these lessons to make noise that swimming lessons save lives. Providing exceptional aquatic experiences for our residents and visitors supports the city's strategic plan goal of beautiful, desirable, safe, and environmentally responsible city, leading to safer communities, improved quality of life, and improved health and wellness. Would you like to say something?
Yes, we like to take every advantage to talk about water safety. It's so important, and we want to get the word out any chance we get. May is an important month for us because we spend a lot of time training the instructors, and then in June we try to get as many people involved, taking swimming lessons and learning everything they can about water safety, and so we take every opportunity to get that word out. So. Appreciate you taking the time to do this. Yes, this is Joseph Harris. He's our aquatic supervisor. This is Taylor Lawrence. He is our aquatic specialist at City Park Recreation Center. And Justin Cutler, he is our recreation division manager.
Okay. Well, I just want to say too, quickly, because we've been talking a lot up here, well, it's mainly me. But I do want to say one of the things that I got to do when I first joined council was go on a tour of all of the different facilities and look at the projects and the work that city staff is up to. And one of the most impressive tours was the one that I had of our aquatics facility at City Park Rec Center. The work that these gentlemen and their colleagues do to keep our pools clean and safe, and the way they train our swim instructors, it's incredible. I had no idea the thought that went into this work and how deliberate their efforts were to make sure that really Westminster has a top-notch aquatics program. So really, please, everybody give these gentlemen a round of applause for all the work they do, because it's really incredible. Okay, so I'm going to talk just a little bit more and make the proclamation. Whereas citizens of Westminster, Colorado recognize the vital role that swimming and aquatic-related activities relate to good physical and mental health and enhance the quality of life for all people, and whereas the citizens of Westminster, Colorado understand the essential role that education regarding the topic of water safety plays in preventing drowning and recreational water-related injuries, and whereas the citizens of Westminster, Colorado are aware of the contributions made by the recreational water industry as represented by the Association of Pool and Spa Professionals, the National Recreation and Park Association, and the World Water Park Association in developing safe swimming facilities, aquatic programs, home pools and spas, and related activities providing healthy places to recreate, learn, and grow, build self-esteem, confidence, and sense of self-worth, which contributes to the quality of life in our community. And whereas the citizens of Westminster, Colorado recognize the ongoing efforts and commitments to educate the public on pool and spa safety issues and initiatives by the pool, spa, water park, recreation, and parks industry, and whereas the citizens of Westminster, Colorado understand the vital importance of communicating water safety rules and programs to families and individuals of all ages, whether owners of private pools, users of public swimming facilities, or visitors to water parks. And whereas on June 22nd, 2017, the City of Westminster will join thousands of other partners to participate in the world's largest swim lesson. Now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby publicly proclaim the month of May 2017 as National Water Safety Month and encourage all Westminster residents to learn to swim. So good to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the citizen communication portion. This is a period for you to come and address council about any subject that is not a public hearing. We don't have any public hearings this evening. We'd ask if when you come up, if you please state your name and your address. We have a 5-minute period for all speakers. At the 1-minute mark, the yellow light will come on, and when your time is up, the red light will come on. I don't believe we had a sign-in sheet this evening, so if anybody would like to come and address council on any subject that's on your mind, please do so.
Good evening, everybody. I don't call to the city council to show up, and I don't have a hair to show up. I worked as a farmer, like with the cows, pigs, horses. Still, I work my hand, so I deserve it. Anyway, when I came here, I would like to have some questions, especially what I heard last meeting and with elementary school. I want to, before I go into it, I will get some fact. If you remember well, President Obama told proudly that we will take in about 15,000 refugees from Middle East, disregarding it is a terrorist country or not. And he was changing and pushing up with the numbers. Number two, the staff acknowledged they cannot vet those people because they don't have no papers, nothing. They cannot do it. And at Whitmore, with elementary school, if I heard well, there was a talk about having affordable housing. By the way, why is affordable? Because it's not affordable. That's a acronym word. Anyway, it took in my mind and ask you a question. Do you have a plan to import to Westminster city any refugees for Middle East without vetting? Because either it is terrorist country or not, disregarding what country they come from. Number two, is there any plan to put these refugees, so-called refugees, which is not really, only Christians are refugees there, but a lot of them just victims of present government there. Anyway, and there are a lot of terrorists between them, and they for sure they target the border from Mexico to come here. I just wonder if there's a plan to put these, if you ship them or somebody will ship them in the money, perhaps George Soros, I am not sure, probably you know him. If they will ship here those people and they will go to occupy the affordable housing project, if they go into, is their new home? I just wonder if it is in the plan of the city council. That's my question. And that's very simple. And I hope you will think of it, okay? Thank you very much.
Again, sir, and I know you just addressed us before, but can you just say your name again for the record?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My name is Eric Colmar, and I'm living in Westminster, Taylor Street. And I still have a brain even I'm old. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who would like to address council this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the report of city officials. Mr. Tripp.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, no report this evening. Thank you.
We will now move on to report of city council comments. Do my colleagues have any comments they would like to make this evening? first? Really? Okay. All right, seeing none, we will move on in the agenda. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which is a group of routine matters to be acted upon with a single motion and vote. We had a discussion prior to this meeting, and there was no indication that a counselor wished to remove any items from the consent agenda. Therefore, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Counselor Byrd.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that the City Council adopt the consent agenda items 8A through 8F.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Counselor Byrd, second by Counselor Seitz. If you would please vote with your buttons. We have a 6-0 vote. We will now we have no appointments or resignations this evening. We'll now move to agenda item 10, public hearings and other new business. Do we have a motion on item 10A? Counselor Byrd.
Yes, I move to pass Councilors Bill number 19 on first reading, providing for a supplemental appropriation of funds to the 2017 budget of the General Storm Drainage, General Capital Outlay Replacement, General Capital Improvement, and Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Byrd, a second from Counselor Seitz. Is there any discussion on this item? This is a roll call vote.
Atchison, Baker,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
We have a 6-0 vote. We'll now move on to items 11, which is old business and passages of ordinances on second reading. This is a group of ordinances that were passed at our last council meeting, but were not unanimous. So we will go through each of these individually. Item 11A. Counselor Seitz.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to pass Councilors Bill number 12 on second reading, approving a comprehensive plan amendment for 9050 Wadsworth Parkway from mixed use to R36 residential. This recommendation is based on a finding that the criteria set forth in section 11-4-16 of the Westminster Municipal Code has been met.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion from Counselor Seitz, a second from Counselor Byrd. This is a roll call vote.
Really discussion?
I apologize. Counselor Baker?
Really. I mean, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I would like to appeal to my colleagues to reconsider this council's action on first reading. I do not feel this has met the criteria for changing the use of this property. And the way I view it, this will have a detrimental impact, not only on the site itself, but on our city as a whole. By this changing of its use designation, we are going to be foreclosing for 50 to 100 years the increased property tax collection on this property. We will be foreclosing for that same 50 to 100 years any really sales tax that the city might gain from this property. And for the next 50 to 100 years, we will have the burden of these residents at this apartment, which will impose costs upon our schools, costs upon our counties, costs upon our courts, costs upon our recreation districts. This also, I think, is a step to change all of the rest of the property at the site into a similar use as this. And I think this is very bad for the city, and I will be voting against it and appeal to my fellow council members to reconsider their actions.
Do we have any additional discussion? If the clerk would take the roll call.
Baker,
No.
Byrd,
Yes.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Sights.
Yes.
We have a 5-1 vote in favor. We'll now move on to agenda item 11B. Councilor Pinter.
Yes, I move to pass Councilors Bill number 13 on second reading, approving a development agreement with Vestar Orchard Town Center LLC for the allocation of service commitments and the provision of sewer infrastructure improvements to support a 270-unit multifamily development at the southeast corner of West 148th Avenue and Huron Street.
Councilor DeCambra.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. In this case, I'd like to implore my fellow council members to reconsider our actions previous. Because not only does this project, again, in my opinion, fail to meet the criteria of our code and foreclose the property taxes and the sales taxes, as I mentioned the first time, and impose the burdens and responsibilities and duties to these new residents we will be gaining. But in this case, there is a pass-through of money that has its origins when this property was first began as an urban renewal area. And we cannot change the past, nor can we change what our colleagues have done in the past. We can only change what we do in the present and change our actions in the future. I am very disappointed with the judgment our colleagues made in the past. I think they exceeded their authority and misused their judgment in declaring this a blighted area, because I do not feel that it met the legislative intent of Colorado's urban renewal laws. I do not think this was an ongoing menace, putting at risk not only the people of our city of Westminster, but the entire state of Colorado. I understand why it was done. It was, in my judgment, a mistake, but that is history. But we stand here with our judgment and our power to use our morals and our ethics in how we use it. And in our discussion previous to this meeting, while this is a wholly, really legitimate use of the urban renewal and tax increment funds, an equally legitimate use would be an early payoff of the bonds. And an early payoff of the bonds would speed up the time at which our sister governments will be able to take their full measure of tax revenues from this property. So that's why I implore my colleagues to use their judgment and not continue the misstep that that we have inherited as a legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. Councilor Pinter?
Yeah, I'll just have a quick comment. I completely agree with Councilor Baker that this is a wholly legitimate use of these funds. It is a wholly legitimate use of these funds. When this first came up for a vote, we had extensive testimony from economic development as well as the parties at hand that this refinement of the requirements of the land use in and around the Orchards Town Center would increase the viability, the commercial viability of that property for the years and decades to come. This is, just to be clear, this is not, this council is not considering any matters related to blight or anything of that sort. Any of those were decided years and years ago. This is simply a refinement of an existing plan to make sure that there are additional live work, live play spaces at the Orchards Mall on some land that has not been utilized to date and has laid vacant for, at this point, I can't recall off the top of my head, but well over 10 years past its development point. And this is something that this council voted in favor of. I'll be voting for it again because we believe it's part of the critical sort of like collaboration of forces to make the Orchards Mall successful, not just for today, but into the future.
Thank you, Councilor Pinter. Any other comments? This is also a roll call vote.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Sights,
Yes.
Atchison, Baker,
No.
Byrd.
Yes.
Sorry.
We have a 5-1 vote. We'll now move on to agenda item 11C. Councilor Seitz.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to pass Councilors Bill number 16 on second reading, amending Title III of the Westminster Municipal Code by adding 2 new chapters to create the 2 new departments consisting of Human Resources and Economic Development.
Second.
A motion from Councilor Seitz, a second from Councilor DeCambra. Is there any additional comments? Councilor Seitz.
I want to quickly thank Councilor Baker for explaining to us his thought process on the last 2 measures and why he was opposed to them. The previous time this came up, I know that Councilor Baker also voted against it, but I hadn't heard his reasoning for it. And I have to say, we were given a very compelling case for doing this, and I'm very excited to allow our city manager to organize to do organizational development that will reflect the needs of our community. I think a very solid case was brought forward. And so I want to say thank you to our city manager and thank you to our staff for really thinking about what are the needs of our community and how should we deliver them. I'm happy to vote yes, and I would ask Councilor Baker, if he's opposed to this, to please explain to me why.
Councilor Baker.
Well, I'd be happy to explain why. I do not feel that I should talk in the microphone. I do not feel that we have gotten the kinds of results I had hoped for out of our economic development team. And effort is absolutely essential. But there's also a measure of results in that. But I am more than willing to take your words and consider them, and I will join you in an affirmative vote.
Any other comments? This is also a roll call vote.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Sights,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a 6-0 vote. That, in a record time, concludes the business of the Westminster City Council. We will now reconvene. Hold on, I gotta pull it up. We'll now reconvene as the Westminster Economic Development Authority. The roll call from the previous meeting will stand, and I will ask if there is a motion for the minutes related to the May 15th meeting. Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to accept the minutes of the meetings of May 15th, 2017 as presented.
Councilor Seitz.
Second.
This is a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes of the May 15th as presented in the agenda packet, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have new business. If I could have somebody make a motion on agenda item 3A. Councilor DeCambra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I move to authorize the Executive Director of the Westminster Economic Development Authority to execute a third amendment with Davis Partnership PC for architectural services for the downtown Westminster site in the amount of $60,000, increasing the authorized expenditure amount from the amended contract of $49,900 to total contract amount not to exceed $109,900.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor DeCambra, a second from Councilor Seitz. Is there any discussion? Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was greatly alarmed when I read this because for more than a year and a half, we have been led to believe that these wrap projects, although unique, were not going to be difficult. And if I am reading the background data for this, it is indeed the difficulty of putting these wrapped projects together that requires the extra $60,000 to architects who have already given us advice and guidance in this matter. So I would like to really see a broader discussion to exactly how big is this challenge of wrap? Because as everyone on this board knows, 50% of our premier square, the central square, is going to be looking at these wraps. There will be wrap visible, which was abandoned by Alamo Project, and that fronts on Westminster Boulevard. And then we have wrap projects on two sides of the JCPenney store. So the entire south side of our central square will be this wrap product. And yet, what was acknowledged as unique but dismissed as not a problem now seems to have grown into a big problem. So perhaps we could get from our staff a little better understanding of how difficult the wrap project is.
Mr. Tripp, if you have someone, you or someone from staff would like to respond?
I would be happy to, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Baker and members of council, and we'll ask our deputy to jump in here if you'd like to, and Sarah Namella, who wrote the script here, the report to you, is here also. But I'd first of all say, if you'd like to explore the need for architectural services that encompass all phases of development, including challenging development sites like future wrap services, but not just those, and we'd be happy to do that. We try to provide a monthly update to councilors in study session or executive sessions about these projects, and they're complicated. And I would suggest that probably the kinds of detailed work that goes into this architectural support might take a half an hour to discuss. We don't necessarily need to take that time here tonight. What I would say is that we are trying to develop this site uniquely in large-scale developments like the Sherman development, but we're now evolving also into smaller scale developments where we might break blocks into multiple buildings. And what this support is for us to be able to hire Davis Architecture, which is the best in the business. They've actually been hired by some of the other firms, and they're doing work on the site, the best that we gauge in the business in this region for this service, to provide typologies that we can show potential developers about how to develop not just wraps around parking garages, because there's really only 2 parking garages, but wraps around buildings like the JCPenney store, edges of properties like corner lots that are left when a developer may take a particular part of a site. So there's lots of typology, and what this work is to do is to help us illustrate to those developers on all those typologies on a site that, yes, in fact, when you look at the diagram, has a lot of nice square blocks, but we hope develops out with not nice square blocks, but with multiple developers. You know, that's one of the benefits that we derived from taking this project over and going to multi-developers. We're getting our downtown because we may have 3 buildings on a block face that are different separated buildings that are different heights. And to make those work architecturally, we just think we need the support. So it is in part some of the wraps, but it's not all wraps. And it's we'd be happy to give you some examples of the kinds of work that Davis is doing for us when we meet separately with you.
Any additional comments, questions? This is a button vote, so if you could please indicate with your preferences. On this one, we have a 5-1 vote. That agenda item concludes the business of the Westminster Economic Development Authority. We will stand adjourned, and I believe we have one executive session left this evening, so if we could meet in the chambers in 5 to 10 minutes.
I know we did too, actually. Barbara, do we have a presentation as well, or is it just the exec session?